Today I felt called to share a little bit of my journey and experience with secondary infertility, and then I'm also going to share at the very end some very important things, unexpected things that the Lord has been teaching me and showing me through this that hopefully can be encouraging to you as well, whether you're actually going through something similar to this or not. So do not go anywhere. You are gonna for sure want to stay tuned until the very end today. First, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Mariah. I have a couple other YouTube channels that I post on regularly. However, they are for my business, and I have so many things that I have felt put on my heart to share with you guys, this being one of them. And because our other YouTube channels, although they are not big channels, they are where a big chunk of my husband and I's business comes from for our business. A big chunk of our income for our business comes directly from our other YouTube channels. So because of that, pivoting what I'm talking about on those channels is just not an option. So I thought, it's time to make a new channel. So here we are. This is my first ever video on this channel. It is a little bit of a sad topic to be talking about as our first video topic, but I promise you guys there's going to be some hope and encouragement sprinkled in there at the very end of the video. So like I said, don't go anywhere. Honestly, before I was in this position that I'm in right now, dealing with secondary infertility, I honestly didn't even really know it was a thing. I feel as though this is something that is just not super duper talked about, to be honest. And I also do want to give a little disclaimer, because before we get into my story and my experience where I'm at right now and what the Lord's been teaching me through all of this, I do feel like I need to add that I do not want to discount anyone's experience, because I know there are so many people who are going through similar situations where they maybe have never been able to have their first child yet. They've been trying for much longer than we have, whether it's secondary infertility or not, or dealing with other similar issues that are a whole lot worse. And so I'm definitely not coming on here sharing like, for me, like this is not where this is coming from at all. But I also know there are people who have been dealing with secondary or non-secondary infertility for less time than we have, and it's still hard. Regardless, like the waiting is waiting, and I really think that what the Lord has taught me about this will hopefully be able to speak to and encourage you as well once we get to that part. First, I'm going to share a little bit of my journey and my personal experience. My husband and I got married at 19 and 20. We had been dating since we were 15 and 16. So although we were young, we did not feel young. It felt like we had been dating forever at that point. But we did get married pretty young, and we had our daughter, our first and currently only child, a couple weeks after I turned 23. It took us 9 months trying to have our daughter, which nothing, abnormal. There was no infertility there. I know some people have, quicker experiences than that when they are trying, but I did get off of birth control right before we started trying, and then from there it took 9 months. So I figured like my body is just getting the birth control out of my body and getting regulated. I just didn't think anything of it. And so we had her, and I never did end up taking birth control after I had my daughter. So she's currently just over 5.5. We started trying for baby number 2 when my daughter was around 3 years old, which we figured, you know what? This is gonna happen quick. I'm probably gonna get pregnant right away because my body has waited so long. I'm definitely ready. When we were trying to have our first daughter, we were super relaxed about it anyway, because while we wanted to start our family, we also were definitely not in a rush at the time because we knew we're still young. And at the time, really no one around us had kids yet. We had like one family member that had a kid. Now it's like a zillion. And so at the time, we had like no friends that had kids yet. So we were definitely ready, but we were also super, super relaxed about it. So fast forward, our daughter's 3, we start trying. Everyone around us has multiple kids now. Times have definitely changed, and we figured it would happen very quickly. Because we waited 3 years to even start trying, we just figured like, my body is very ready. This is going to happen really fast. That has not been the case. It really wasn't until 1 year of trying that it kind of hit me that maybe something's wrong, or maybe like this isn't going to happen as quickly as I thought it would. At the time when our 1-year anniversary of actually starting to try to have a baby for the second time hit, we were in Mexico. We were there for 3 months doing missions work, and it was actually a very healing time for our family. It was amazing in so many ways. But right around like that exact time when it was our 1 year of trying anniversary, and I was having coffee with a friend who was older than me. She was also kind of like a mentor to me while I was in Mexico. And although her English was very broken and my Spanish is sadly non-existent, we had so many amazing, very, very needed conversations. And I just remember opening up to her about this, and she told me the verse that comes to mind is, "Be still and know that I am God." And that is a verse that was really just like healing for me to hear at the time. So that was what it looked like 1 year in of trying. And that's not, we're going to get to more like important things that God has shown me about this. So don't go anywhere. That was not it. But that is a little piece of like encouragement, was just like, be still and know that I am God. So that was like a piece of encouragement for me to hold on to. We got home from our hiatus in Mexico and returned to normal life. And I will just say, it is expensive and it is time consuming, and it is also just emotionally exhausting in a lot of ways, struggling with secondary, or honestly, I would assume this is the only type I've dealt with, infertility. So we have tried, I don't want to spend too long talking about this because this is not what this video is about. I am not giving any advice in this area, but we have tried all of the things. We've gone to doctors, nurse practitioners, to naturopaths, to the acupuncturists, and all of the things. And we've done all the tests, and there hasn't been some huge, diagnosis or thing that's wrong. We're trying to get our bodies as healthy as we can holistically, but there has not been some big explanation, you know what I mean, to why we haven't been able to get pregnant yet. Fast forward, and now it's been 2 years of trying. And what has been surprising to me is that the things that have been hard are not what I had expected to be hard about this. For example, a while back, we passed what would have been the month that would have been a 6-year age gap if I would have conceived that month. And that was really, really hard for me, because it was just such a eye-opener, I guess, of wow, like we're past the 6-year age gap now. That dream of having kids like that close, with my first having a sibling that close, that chapter's closed, and like that will not happen. And now we're moving towards the 7-year age gap, and I don't know where we will land, but the chances of having our first and second 6 years apart are over. Most of the time, and I'm gonna get to, like I said, don't you go anywhere, because I'm gonna get to what God has shown me, and I think it's very important to know. But the things that surprisingly trigger me are different. I feel like it's interesting because I feel like everyone dealing with this or something similar to this has different things that trigger them, different things that are hard for them, and different things that are maybe are not as hard. For me, a couple things that are triggers are holidays have been triggers, because it's like, wow, I thought, every year at this holiday, it's like I thought for sure by this holiday I would have a baby, or at least be pregnant, and then and my kid would have a sibling, and then I thought that the year before, too, and the year before that, like that is triggering, just because it's kind of a reminder of that, like landmark, I guess you could say. I don't think landmark's the right word, but you know what I mean. And another really big trigger for me has been surprisingly, I love birthday parties. I love family gatherings, kid birthday parties, but honestly, kids' birthday parties have been really, really hard for me, because the thing is, in my family, as well as my husband's side of the family, as well as our friend circles, our church community, like literally every circle we are in life, everybody has their kids so close together. And our daughter is always, like, she's not like that old, but she's, like I said, she's 5.5 at the time of filming this, and she is always, almost always, either the oldest or definitely one of the oldest everywhere we go. Usually she is the oldest. So all of the other kids her age, or even the ones younger than her, have 2, sometimes 3 younger siblings, because we also happen to run in circles where people have lots of kids and big families, which is great and beautiful, but it feels very, very isolating for me, being the only person with one kid, because like nobody in our circles has only one kid unless it's a baby. So that aspect for me has felt very isolating, I guess you could say. The Lord really has shown me kind of recently, honestly, that I have not been trusting him in this. And I really truly believed that I was trusting him, because I never really doubted that I will get pregnant. I don't know when, but I know, like, my body's done it before, so it's not that hard for me to believe that, if that makes sense. I definitely fully believe we will get pregnant. We still have my daughter's crib in her room, because I hope someday her and her first future sibling, at least, can share a room. And she has like a big queen bed, and then there's her little crib is still in there. Like, we have faith for that. I know that I will get pregnant, and so I thought that I was trusting God, but he had actually told me and revealed to me that I was not trusting him. And the reason I wasn't trusting him, what he had told me, was this: I was not trusting how good he is to me, or how good he wants to be to me. Meaning, I was not trusting that his plans for my family are really, really good. I wasn't as upset about the fact, again, for me, everybody going through this is going to have different things that trigger them, different circumstances, aspects of the circumstance that's harder for them. I'm just sharing my personal experience. But for me, I wasn't as upset about the fact that I wasn't getting pregnant. It was more being upset about the fact that that I can't control the age gap. I always thought for sure there's no way we'll have a bigger than like 5 year. Like, that would be crazy. There's no way. That just couldn't happen to us. And then it moves on to past the 6 year. Now we're going towards 7, like whatever. And I know there's people with way bigger age gaps than this. I'm not over here like, poor me, whatever. Like, this is my experience, and I'm just sharing what I'm learning from it. But that's what I was upset about. And I did have to grieve the fact that things were not going to be as I had planned or thought that they would be in my mind. And I think that is perfectly okay and important actually to do, as long as you're not staying in that place. I grieved that fact, and I've accepted it. What really changed my perspective is when the Lord told me I'm not trusting him. And it wasn't because I didn't believe that I would get pregnant. I wasn't trusting him because I didn't believe that he knew what he was doing with this age gap. And I didn't believe that his plans for myself, and even for my daughter and her future siblings and her relationship with her future siblings, were better than my plans were. And that he actually cares more about my children's relationship, my daughter's relationship with her future siblings, even more than I do. Honestly, what it came down to was I had to get a revelation of how good God is to me again. I feel as though most of the times in my life when I have had a hard time surrendering something to God or fully trusting him with something, it has come down to the fact that I'm not believing how good he is. I'm not believing that he's really that good to me, or I'm forgetting his nature and his character, that it is really, really, really good. I'm forgetting that he is not this, I don't know, gray-haired old guy like I used to think of him when I was a kid, who, that he is actually a really kind, loving, perfect, heavenly daddy, father, who has such good intentions. Literally every time I have had a hard time trusting him with something I just wouldn't let go of, or didn't trust him with my plans in the past, and with this situation as well. Not that there's anything I can do about it anyway. Anytime that has been the case, it has literally always come down to the fact that I am not believing his intentions for me are that good. And I'm forgetting he is actually really, really, really good to me. And his plans for me are so good. And his intentions for me are so perfect. And honestly, since I've had that fresh revelation, that's the one thing I was missing. So God told me I was not trusting him, although I thought I was, because although I was trusting him with the fact I knew I would get pregnant, even though I didn't know when, I was not trusting him with the fact that his plans would be better than mine, and he knew what he was doing with this age gap, and that my child's relationship with her future siblings will actually be better than I could ever have planned for or imagined in my own logical mind, because the God of the universe is in control of it, and he knows what he's doing with this. And so I had to get a fresh revelation of how good God is to me and how good his intentions are for me. After I got that revelation, ever since then, I have been just bombarded with like reasons why I'm thankful for this big age gap. And again, I don't know how big it's going to be yet. We're still walking through this journey, but it's going to be bigger than I expected or wanted or planned for. But I now see it through a new lens, and I am honestly so excited about this large age gap that's going to happen between my first daughter and all of the rest of her siblings that she will have in the future. Our Western culture, I feel way more here in our Western culture than in other cultures, from what I have seen and observed. Not that I've been to that many other cultures, but from what I've studied about other cultures, how they raise their children, because that's a topic I just like I read a lot of books about, and it's random, but it's very intriguing to me, like how other cultures raise their kids. And we are the only age gap obsessed culture, but you do hear so many things from like other moms talking about, oh, my kids are going to be too far apart because they're this age gap or whatever. And like, we are so obsessed with it, and we think of it as such a negative thing if it's more than like 3 years. That's like the acceptable, I guess, in our Western culture. If it's any more than that, it's like a negative thing. And I'm just so convinced, because of what the Lord has been downloading into my mind, that that's not true. That doesn't have to be the case. Like I said, I am actually super excited, although I don't know how big the age gap will end up being, and I don't know exactly how things will look. I am extremely hopeful, and I do not think that it has to be a negative thing like some people seem to portray or think in our Western culture, especially, that having a big age gap has to be. I do not see it in that way anymore, thank God. Dwelling on all the reasons why you wish your kids were closer together, or you're sad your kid doesn't have a sibling that's going to be close to them, that is not going to do you any good, because that ship has sailed, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change it now. All you can do is choose, make a conscious decision, because we do get to control and choose what we think about. Make a conscious choice to think about and dwell on the reasons why having a big age gap, or bigger than what you wanted maybe, is actually going to be the bomb and a really freaking awesome, fun, beautiful thing. That is all you can do now. So why would you do anything other than that? Another thing that has been helping me through this journey is taking time as I'm journaling with the Lord to intentionally think about, count, and even write down the things that you are grateful for about your situation, the aspects of your situation that you're grateful for. I'm not saying you need to be grateful for the fact that you are not getting pregnant when you want to be, but being grateful for, like, there has to be something that you can think of. For me, a big one that I'm constantly thanking God for is just saying, like, thank you, Jesus, for all the quality time I have with my daughter. I have so much quality one-on-one time with my daughter, who's been an only child for so long now, and we have so many amazing memories and experiences with her. We have such a tight relationship with her and get to have so much time, and she also has so much time to spend building and fostering these relationships with our with her cousins and my friends' kids and people who are like cousins / sibling figures. I know it's not at all the same as having an actual sibling, but she gets to really foster and build those lifelong relationships right now, and I'm really grateful for that. So what can you, like, actively out loud be grateful for about your situation, or what good things has your situation brought you? And to end this video, the last bit of encouragement is just really, and thing that's been helping me is really just living with a very strong understanding that God says in His Word that He will work everything out for our good in His glory if we are his followers? And do you really believe that? Like, that's something that, like, I have joy right now and excitement and anticipation, although this has been a lot longer of a process than I had ever thought that it would be. But I really truly believe that, and no, it doesn't have to make sense to my logical brain that my kid, it doesn't have to make sense to my logical brain. I don't have to know how it's all going to work out, but I just genuinely have this like core belief that he will make this be what is best for me and my daughter and my family and her future siblings. I really, really believe that. It's not saying I'm dealing with this perfectly. There's more good days than bad, but there's definitely really, really hard days thrown in there. But just having that core belief and knowing and resting on that promise is just always, I feel like, going to be helpful no matter your situation. At the end of the day, I don't need to know or understand how things are going to work out to know that God is leading and his plans are better than mine. I'm hesitant to even share this because I feel like this sounds kind of weird, and I definitely don't have experiences like this. Like, I definitely don't have visions like this or this type of thing often. However, I have had for a very long time, over and over and over, I've had this very consistent vision that has come to me through just randomly, out of nowhere, not when I'm thinking about anything, when I'm in prayer. And then this vision is the exact same thing every time. It is where I'm standing in my kitchen and I say, wow, it's me and my daughter, and there's, another, I don't know how many other, but there's at least, another, she has a sibling at this point. And I'm standing in my kitchen and I say these words, wow, I'm so glad this is their age gap, my kid's age gap. I had no idea at the time, but, and then that cuts off. Like, that is literally the end of the vision, and I've seen it over and over and over again. And I don't know what the but is. I don't know why God is having this take so much longer. I don't know why. My daughter has been literally praying for a sibling since she could learn how to talk and hasn't been able to get a sibling. But I do know that there is something good on the other side of that. But I do know there is a reason, and I don't need to know what it is now. Like, God, I know that his plans are better than mine, but I don't have to know what is on the other side of that but, and it'll just be a pleasant, exciting surprise, I guess, whenever we find out. Okay, I feel like I'm kind of just rambling at this point, so I'm gonna end this video here. Thanks for hanging out with me today in my car. If you watched this video all the way through, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. And I want to hear from you guys. I don't want this to be like just a one-way conversation where I'm talking to you. Let's start a conversation in the comment section. I would love to hear, where are you who's watching this in your journey as far as this goes, or maybe you've been through this and you have some words of encouragement for everybody else. Drop it in the comment section, please, and we'll see you guys soon.